Thought I couldn't breathe without you. I'm inhaling. Thought I couldn't see without you. Perfect vision. Thought I couldn't last without you, but I'm lasting. Thought that I would die without you, but I'm living. Thought that I would fail without you, but I'm on top. Thought it would be over, but now, but it won't stop. Thought that I would self-destruct, but I'm still here. Even in my years to come, I'm still gonna be here. I'm a survivor.
뒷골 이승기 전북 2대1. South Korea have scored. Can you believe it? Germany are going out of this World Cup. Kim Yong-kwon.
돌아갑니다. 공동입니다. 공동입이 역전을 만듭니다. 2점의 장면을.
Winners of the AFC Champions League 2020, Ulsan Hyundai.
You're listening to the K-League United podcast, proud partner of Football Nation Radio.
Hello. I haven't done this in a while. I'm joined. Hello.
Hey.
안녕하세요. Ryan Walters here. I am joined virtually by Matthew Binns and Pete Hampshire. Gentlemen, I thought the rust was gone. It's not. How you doing?
Good, mate. Yeah, I enjoyed that little intro video before we paused for a while.
Yeah.
Little bit unfair on Seoul and Songnam to play such a bit of dramatic music. They're not down yet. I know it's a big game at the weekend, but still.
Yeah, in case you didn't know, that new introduction for K-League Survivor, our Patreon series, was done by friend of the show, Incheon Luke, and that is because we're down to the final. It's Jared Sellers versus Michael Boroff this weekend. And Matthew, I believe you've done a little bit of the research, and who do they have left that they could pick this weekend?
All right. Well, I hope I've got this right. But Jared, he has Bucheon, Ansan, Songnam, Jeju, and Gangwon, whereas Michael has Gwangju, Incheon, Songnam, Bucheon, and Asan, I believe. Some difficult decisions to be made there. Who would you be picking from that selection, Ryan?
Gangwon, because they always screw me over. So they're gonna not do it to the. No, they're facing Suwon FC in Suwon. I don't have good feelings about that one. Incheon at home to Jeju. I feel like they'll get a draw out of that. Yeah, I think that's a safe bet.
I lost 2 lives to Anyang, so if they're in there, that was with Anyang winning, by the way. So maybe do pick Anyang, and also Bucheon were there. I'm sure they're on good form lately. Perhaps. One of them, was it Jared? He did pick Bucheon last week, wasn't it? And
he may have well have done. I have probably missed that. But yeah, one of them might have got Bucheon. But yes, there's still one Bucheon available, it looks like. So could be a good pick.
Lay it all on the line for Bucheon. Do it. Do it.
And that's definitely not bit anybody else in this game until now. So
this is why we're talking about these two being left, and the 3 of us have been out for weeks. But I always blame Gangwon, by the way, because I always pick them with my heart, and they always let me down in this. In case you don't know what we're talking about, Survivor is where you just pick a team that won't lose. And all of us failed except for these 2 guys. And maybe this weekend we'll have a champion. We'll see. But we're not here to talk about that for the full hour. Maybe we'll do that next time. We'll see how it goes. But we are here because there are all sorts of things going on in Korean football right now, not least of which World Cup qualifiers, the final round of Asian qualifiers have taken place. Well, they've started anyway. And we're going to talk about the draw and win that Korea managed to get at home in Seoul and Suwon. And then we are going to welcome in the mighty Jeonnam Dragons, Samuel Nnamani, and talk about a very interesting footballing journey that took him from Nigeria into Europe and then here to Korea, and a lot of parallels between his time in the second division in Sweden and his time with Jeonnam this season. I'm hoping it goes as well here as it did there for him, but I'll let him get into that. Not that we didn't already, not that that's pre-recorded or anything. It's totally going to be live. He's in the green room right now. It's going to be great. And then we're going to come back. And Matthew, this is a segment that I think, well, you've had this a couple of times on the podcast, and it's Crisis at FC Seoul.
Yeah, I seem to always be on. No, we were hoping we could get Paul on, but he's a very busy man at the moment, Paul. We've got some of his thoughts, which we'll probably be trying to relay. But yeah, Paul, the Crisis at Seoul, again, the never-ending perpetual Crisis at FC Seoul, and can't wait to dig in.
Yeah, Park Jin-sop out as manager and cemented to the bottom of the table after making up all of their games in hand. So we're going to talk about that, and then we have a very full mailbag this week. But before we can get into any of that, if you are listening to this podcast and thinking to yourself, I'd really like to do some reading, well, you can do so on kleague.com this week, where we have information on K-League internationals. If you read the interview or heard the interview last week with Jonathan Moya, he is starting matches up top for Costa Rica right now in some very meaningful matches. He started against Mexico on Monday. They held out for the most part. That was a 1-0 win for Mexico in the end, but a really good showing from Costa Rica. So you can read up on that. You can read up on Canada's draw with the United States in the United States. Not too pleased. Anyway, you can read about all of that on kleague.com. Paul does that weekly. And there's Friday night football this week. We have Pohang Steelers against Daegu FC, and our own Shibuji Das has the preview for that. Those are two teams that are getting ready to go into ACL very, very soon, and the other two teams going into ACL very, very soon. Just these small teams, Ulsan and Jeonbuk, are going to be facing off Friday night. Matthew, how are you feeling about that one?
Not as confident as previous seasons, I have to say, but we hopefully find time to touch on this a little bit later. But yeah, could be a bit of a difficult one for Jeonbuk. There is a preview on its way. Should be out tomorrow on kleague.com.
Yeah, and folks listening to the podcast, they might have already read it because they're just waiting for those Matthew Binns pieces, as it should be. On the note of nerves and things maybe not going as expected, let's go ahead and let's talk about Korea Republic, as they are known on the interwebs and officially, and their 0-0 draw with Iraq here in Seoul. Pete, what happened in this match?
Yeah, the first game was at the Seoul World Cup Stadium. A former boss in charge of the 2006 World Cup for Korea, Dick Advocaat, was in the opposition dugout for Iraq. It was a pedestrian pace, wasn't it, the first game? The best chance fell to EJ Sung.
Yeah.
I'm really not sure how he missed it. It was kind of unbalanced, but he was still 3 yards out. He should be putting those away. Son Jun-ho, I thought, played quite well. He denied Iraq what could have been a certain goal before half-time. And then Hwang Hee-chan came off the bench and had a good header. But in reality, that first game just fizzled out, and we could have had an extra 20 minutes and still wouldn't have looked like scoring, I don't think. That was on Thursday, was it? And then on Tuesday, down into Suwon World Cup Stadium, 3 points against Lebanon. It was really high tempo at the start. I thought this is going to be a brilliant performance for the first 20 minutes. They looked really cohesive. There was no Son Heung-min for this one. He sat out with an injury to his calf. But after the first 20 minutes, they did slow down a bit while still being on top, still dominating possession. EJ Sung again was denied by the brilliant Lebanon keeper from close range with a header. 5 minutes later, Hwang Hee-chan had a half volley saved, another fantastic save from the Lebanon keeper. And it slowed down a bit until Kwon Chang-hoon got the decisive goal. It was a 1-0 victory for Korea. On the hour mark, he was supplied by Hwang Hee-chan, playing in his own club stadium as a Suwon legend, of course. A nice move down the left, Hong Chul into Hwang Hee-chan, and then Kwon Chang-hoon finished it off. At the end of the match, there was everyone looked absolutely shattered, didn't they? There was the customary collapse, as we see in the K-League. So often, if you've not watched many K-League games, but you listen to our podcast, so often the players just collapse to the floor at the full-time whistle, like they've given everything, which I suppose they do.
Have.
It's always in a bit of dramatic fashion, isn't it? And we had that on Tuesday.
I think that was the celebratory lie down, right? Is that not a thing?
It's very pronounced over here.
Yeah. Yeah, look, I mean, like you were saying, I think the main takeaway, well, let's the Iraq match. I mean, okay, so my big thing, I got two big takeaways here. These are my quote unquote hot takes. They're not that hot, don't worry. Mustafa Matar was the Lebanese keeper and was outstanding. This is a man that has replaced a goalkeeper known as the Mountain, an AFC Cup champion, Mehdi Khalil, and you can see why. He was the man of the match in their opening game, and he was outstanding against Korea in this match. I think without him between the sticks, then it's easily 1-0 at halftime, if not 2-0 at halftime. And I think this is more of the scoreline that people would have expected on paper, but that's not the hot take. That's not the big thing for me. The big thing for me was that I think they looked a little bit better without Son.
I've written exactly the same thing. I enjoy what I mean. Again, fantastic player, one of the best players' career. When we look back in years to come, we'll probably say Jeonnam was one of the best players in Korean history. He's fantastic. He's a nice guy.
Asian history
off the pitch, yeah. And I love what he does at Tottenham, but I cannot get myself motivated to watch a Korea squad with him in it. Maybe in the World Cup, yes, fine. But it just looked sluggish. I thought in the Lebanon game, I thought there was that the EJ Sung was in the middle, and you had Hwang Yi-chan and Na Sang-ho either side of him. I thought that those three worked really well off each other. Cho Kyu-sung, he didn't really get much chance, but he was there as well, causing some problems of the defence. But those three behind him, I really thought that little dynamic worked quite well. I thought it created a few opportunities. And do you get that kind of dynamic when Son Heung-min is in the team? Yeah, well, I guess one of the issues is a lot of people know Son Heung-min is, including the opposition, and he's
right.
Very much a marked target when he's on the pitch. But yeah, I just enjoyed it. Well, I guess I enjoyed the Korea versus Lebanon game more, and throughout watching Korea in these last few seasons, I always seem to enjoy the games where Son Heung-min's not playing, and it's a shame. It's a shame for a player so good.
I mean, I think the thing of it is that there's just too much of an over-reliance on him when he's in the lineup. And Hwang Yi-jo obviously has a lot of talent, but for me, look, Cho Kyu-sung did a job in this match. And Matthew, you're familiar with seeing him do this for your club as well. They played the Lebanon match in a 4-1-4-1. They threw a big boy up top, and they were like, just cause havoc. Get these defenders out of position, hold the ball up, let other people get into play. And I feel like he had an underrated performance in the Lebanon match, to be honest, because I think he stretches the field in a way that other people don't. And it's not look, if you're given the option of can we have Son Heung-min in the lineup or not, 10 times out of 10 you say yes. But it seems like there's this weird pressure on everybody in the lineup to constantly feed him the ball and to just kind of watch him play the game as opposed to playing their own game. And I don't know if it's just that they needed more time to get together, but the passing was crisper. The off the ball movement was better. Everything was better in the second match. And again, maybe that's just because they actually had to play at this level. You know, Iraq woke them up a little bit. I don't know. Pete, what was your takeaway?
Well, I saw on social media there was quite a lot of hype around Hwang In-bom that I didn't really agree with, to be honest. I thought that they looked better when the ball passed him by. I mean, there's lots of options in the centre midfield. Jung Eui-young, Jung Woo-young, and Nam Tae-hee, who were both missing for the last game. I just thought the weighting of his passes was poor to the fullbacks. There was a lot of pointing from Hwang In-bom without actually getting on the ball much. That's one of my pet peeves with centre midfielders, just pointing around the middle of the park.
You don't like that?
he took a couple of free kicks which were well wide of the mark, and I just feel like he's a player with no real specialism. He's just average at everything. And I thought Korea in both of those games looked most dangerous when the centre backs were on the ball passing it through. I thought Kim Min Jae was the man of the match.
He looked
last
so
night.
sharp.
Yeah.
For me, it was like a stroll down John Book memory lane. I was all these players, they've all left. But I missed them all. But yeah, Kim Min Jae, he looked really sharp. He created a few chances, nearly created a chance for Cho Kyu-sung to get his first goal really early on in that Lebanon match. But yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, if it was me, I'd just play one more defensive-minded central midfielder rather than Son Jin-ho and Hwang In-bom. I don't think you need both. Even against better teams on paper, I'd still just stick with one.
And what did you make of the depth in this squad? Because Ju Se-jung did end up replacing Hwang In-bom very, very late. Would you want to see him in that role instead, or was there anybody that impressed you off the bench?
I think they brought Ju Se-jung on just because Hwang In-bom was about to get sent off for a second booking, because he snapped into a tackle, which I thought was a great tackle, to be fair, but the ref pulled him up on it. I think the Jung Woo-young, who's at Al Sadd, he'd be my personal choice. He wasn't involved in this fixture. I'd have him in.
Yeah, as far as subs go, I liked most of what I saw from Song Min-kyu. I think he's offering a change of pace. I like his aggression. I like that he's just going to shoot the ball. I think we need a little bit more of that in the attack. I wish he'd hit the frame a little bit more when he's doing that, but I think that was a positive step. And overall, I thought that was a great change in the Lebanon match. And they talked about that. The players, Paulo Bento, everybody talked about that post-match after the Iraq draw, that they needed to be more aggressive in attack. And again, to me, that a lot of that seems like a mental hurdle that the players are getting themselves over when they're not in Son's shadow, when they're not worrying about getting him the ball and just watching him do everything. And again, it's not that the man isn't excellent, because he clearly is. It's just that they seem to be playing with a little bit more freedom in that second match. And yeah, we've already had a comment come in on YouTube during the live stream here about posting this on Twitter. So I'm very much looking forward to the Twitter mentions about all of this, and how I'm just going to say Matt's the one that always hates on Son. Always.
I think he's a great player. I just don't like the cult that surrounds him.
Fair enough. All right. Well, those were the opening two matches for Korea in the final round. That has them sitting second in Group A right now. They're going to be back at it very soon. They're going to be back at it in October against Syria at home. And then they are going to be making their first away trip of the final round of qualifiers. They're going to be facing Iran. And I would say that's probably the biggest game in this group, in my opinion, is the away leg to Iran. And we'll see if they struggled to break down Iraq's defense, a deep lying line there, then we'll see how they do against Iran and the firepower that Iran has coming in attack. But we will be keeping an eye on that, and we'll probably hand the host chair back over to Pete once again to talk to Steve Price about that one.
Yeah, that sounds good. I was looking at the group earlier, and already after 2 match days, every team's got at least a point. So you can see how competitive it's going to be. Yeah,
it's going to be really intense. I think Group B is it's much more even, right? You've got 2 teams with 6 points, 2 teams with, I think, 2 points, and then 2 teams with 0 points so far. Whereas A is going to be tight, but we'll see. I mean, they got to start scoring some goals as well. 1 goal from 2 home matches is not the kind of output that you would want, but yeah, we'll see. We'll leave that one for a future conversation between Pete and Steve and the Sun Heung-min hating Matthew Bittens. Anyway, we're going to take a really quick break, and then on the other side of that break, I'll be back. I'm kicking these guys out, and we're welcoming in Jeonnam's Samuel Nnamani. We'll be right back.
FNR is a revolutionary football-dedicated digital platform, the first of its kind in Australia. It provides a 24/7 live online radio platform experience, podcast hub, and acts as a content provider for TV, radio, and digital. Having reached millions of listeners and football fans since launching, FNR is accessible worldwide via its website or app, providing a platform to discuss, debate, and celebrate the world game. We are your voice of football, FNR Football Nation Radio.
All season long with the finest team in Korea, the mighty Jeonnam Dragons. It's Samuel Nnamani, and thanks so much for taking the time.
Yeah, I appreciate for you choosing me to make an interview with you. So it's a pleasure.
It's a shame on my behalf that we haven't talked to you or anybody at Jeonnam yet this season, because it's been a good season, and we're going to get into that. But first, for those watching the video version of this interview, for those that have seen you play recently, I want to start with a topic very close to my heart: hair. And I want to talk about this fantastic look you've got going on right now with the bleach blonde look. Was this your idea to get this going on the team? Did you start this?
No, actually, Balotelli started it. Balotelli,
Okay.
Alex, and Balotelli tricked me to do this. You know, we was in the room. It's a day before the game, I think, against Ansan.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, Buchan, and so he said, "Bro, you have to color your hair. You know, you have to put color." You know, I said, "I don't want that." And he rubbed the bleach on me, you know, and he ran into the bathroom. So I couldn't wash it, you know, because that's the only way I could wash my hair. So I had to stay there, and my hair started changing the color. So I said, "Okay, come, bring the color. Let's just change the color." And he was so happy, you know.
How are you feeling about it? That's how it went down.
I've done it before, but I just did it on the side with my, like, only on the side, so the hair is still black. But it was okay. I don't care though. I'm very open to anything. So
okay, and you added the goatee as well.
Yeah, one week later, I said, okay, then why not try putting one more year? And then the other guy said I should put one more year in here. I said, no, it's okay. They said they wanted me to look like Jubre Cisse, you know, the guy.
Get the whole thing going, yeah. I mean, it's a great summer look.
Yeah.
And the summers, I lived in Gwangyang for a couple of years, so I know what the summers are like down there. And on the note of Gwangyang, longtime listeners of the podcast are sick of me talking about it. The food in the region you're in, it's the best in Korea. But long before you could dine on the finest food in Korea, you started your club career a long way away in Serbia. And just talk a little bit about how that came about and what it was like playing in Serbia as a teenager.
In the beginning, I was quite young. I came there, and I got the opportunity through my academy. They used to bring in players to Europe, like a club like that, Dynamo Kiev, Monaco, clubs like this. So my age, they told me there's a club in the first division who is interested in you if you want to go. I said, yes, of course. This is why we are playing football too. So I traveled. I was very young. The weather was pretty cold then. It's like it was in the winter, you know. It was really tough. I had to throw up I vomited in my first week. I was sick because I couldn't manage the weather. And we went, the team name was Sloboda Ujit. When I went to preseason with them, and we had this problem with the foreign, and already they have 4. So the coach said, I like you, but I want you to stay with us, but you won't play because we want you to keep on training for 6 months or 1 year to feel more better. So my agent said, no, you have to take me to a second division. So that's how I started.
Credit to you, it didn't take you that long to start getting some regular minutes. Like you say, you made the move and you logged over 1,500 minutes in 2016-17. And that got you a move to Sweden. I think you'll probably be able to pronounce the name better. I don't necessarily want to pronounce the team name. It was AFC Eskilstuna?
AFC Eskilstuna.
Yeah,
It's
see,
true
I
now.
was
Yeah.
so close.
You're so close there, yeah. It's way difficult for people to pronounce it, and many people had problem pronouncing this club name.
I love the club name, and it worked out. 12 goals
Yeah.
and 27 appearances. So a good push to eventually earn promotion. And that's something else that obviously, as a Jeonnam fan, very keen on promotion this year. But specifically with Jeonnam, the goals just aren't there for Jeonnam because this is a mainly defensive team. Like, it is very much a defense first kind of team.
Yeah,
So I'm curious, how has that changed your tactical approach to games? Are you asked to do things differently than you have in the past? Is it more about hold up play? What aspects of your game have you had to tweak this year, if any?
Actually, I'm a more of a team player, like working for the team, putting the team first, I did the same thing in Sweden, like running up and down for just offensive, defensively, just to people who are not really into football doesn't understand that. Maybe you might understand, but there's a big difference, because you running down defense for help the team defensively. Of course, it's very difficult. Not everybody will want to do this, but I think if you really love the club, if you really wants the club to succeed, and you really respect the coach tactic, I believe you need to do this. That's the only way, and that is the Jeonnam style. This is, I don't think Jeonnam would play any other style. If they try to change, it's not going to work. This is what they are good at. That's why I believe, like, I don't think they should stop this way of playing, because if they try to change, might goes way bad. So I think this is Jeonnam. This is Jeonnam, and I think I don't think it's really affect me. Maybe I'm not that more available in up front always, always, because while maybe down helping the team counter attack before running to the other team box, it's not easy, So, but we're working for that. So hopefully we try to fix a way to make it look better for the offensive players.
Well, and one area where it's been going extremely well for you and Jeonnam in general is the FA Cup this year. And you personally have had some massive moments in the Cup. I want to start in Busan, a match that I was very happy to have made the KTX trip down for, against Busan Transportation Corporation, where Jeonnam were down 2-1 with just 10 minutes left, and enter you with your first goal in Jeonnam colors. First, just take me through that moment. What was the team atmosphere like? Because Busan Transport, they are a big K3 club, but that was a match that I would expect you all went in expecting to win, wanting to win. So what was the atmosphere like in that final 10 minutes?
Yeah, we did not we came here to win, but if you look the game, it really, this team, they are not a bad team, they are the best. Then that period in K3, they are the best team. They never lost, I think. So they have this confidence, playing in their home and everything. They have this confidence to win. But then, we had some little bit and blunders, but we just felt that we shouldn't leave here with a lose, So that kept us going. And then, honestly, it was a tough game. It was a good game, and I feel very very happy to score after playing a lot of games. It was really tough mentally, but I was really motivated after that goal, and we got the victory. That was the most important thing.
In the next game, a couple months later, you had another massive moment, scoring the only goal in the 1-0 victory over POSCO rivals and First Division K-League 1 Pohang Steelers, who played in AFC Champions League this year and then come back home and get defeated by the Dragons with the goal that you score. If the first goal in the FA Cup against Busan Transportation back in May, if that motivated you, what was it like to score this goal in this match?
Recently, that period of time, I felt good. This period of time, I think this since August, I have these feelings of scoring goals. I got more balls from my mates. I was among the game plan of our tactic offensively. So this improved my game. And fortunately, it came in this time that we played against Poham. It was a good show for me, for the team, and for the fans. I really had a lot of fun playing against such team. Playing against a K1 team is a lot of space. For example, I've played in the first division in Sweden compared to the second division in Sweden. There is not same. It's a little bit. The second league is always very intense. Like you don't get this freedom. Like most especially, your ability. You're strong. You're a little bit quick. Sometimes you get two players on you. But in K1, it's more free. Like I didn't lost no ball against this team. Like when I turn, I got this freedom to turn. Like then I feel dangerous. But in K2, it's always someone is behind you hitting you hard or something. Like it's a way. It's totally different. Once you ask a football player who has played the first and second league, they will tell you that it's really tough to play in the second division because it's always very a lot of aggressiveness. I think this first division is more tactical play. Like I just that's what I felt in the game. And right now I feel very motivated. I'm ready to jump in the pitch anytime. So this is what I feel like recently.
Yeah. Well, that motivation is going to have to be there for you and everybody else because, as you said, next round, the semifinal are the champions of Asia, not K-League, the champions of Asia, Ulsan Hyundai.
It's amazing.
Well, yeah. What does it feel like to be getting ready for that game, going into that?
Honestly, I can't wait for that game to come. Of course, we have a very important games coming up for the league. But two, I'm still looking forward on that game because playing against the Asian champion is amazing. It's a great experience, And we want to win. We want to show to the whole Koreans that we can do it. We have the ability to do it. If we can take out Pohang, why not? Anything can happen. And then the cup games is a totally different ball game. Cup games, you have to get the result right now. We have to win. It's either you win or you lose. One person must be happy home. So this is a different thing. When I was in AFC, we have similar situation when we got promoted and we played the cup final as a smaller team in that year because we won against the best team in the country in the semi-final. Oh, wow. Yeah. We played I scored. We played 1-1, and then we went into the penalty shootout, and they missed a lot, and we scored, and unfortunately we won. So anything can happen. So we played in the final. We didn't. Then we played in the final. Then the next season, but we had a little bit change from the team, and then we struggled a lot, and we lost the final. But I believe that team, if the same team played the final, I think we will get something. If we will not lose like the same way we lost in that final.
And how much are you bringing that experience into the locker room and talking to people about this? Because I that's a massive thing to have in your history of, yes, I was with a second division club and we faced the best team in the country, which you could argue is Ulsan Hyundai right now. Yeah. So like you've been in this situation. Is that something that you're talking to teammates about and saying like, look, this has happened. I know we can do this.
Yeah, I sometimes I share my thoughts. I think right now, sometimes we did not perform really good. Does not mean we are not a good team. Sometimes even Barcelona, Real Madrid, they have a bad time. So, but the most important thing is how we react after the loss. We just have to. We don't have nothing to lose. We just have to keep going, and we need to throw out our energy in the pitch, just finish it. And then the next day you can rest. Just if it takes to, because, imagine when you lost, how with the pain you feel, I don't know about another person, but me, I don't feel good, If you can ask my wife, I don't want to talk to anybody, I just want to go home and, lock myself in the room and just, it's totally different when I lose, So I just want to keep all my best,
Absolutely.
Yes.
And Samuel, obviously, I wish you and Jeonnam all the best, and I'll say all the listeners do as well. But thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Have a nice day. Bye.
Fans, we want to hear from you. You're encouraged to email KLU at info@kleagueunited.com or tweet at K-League United with any questions, comments or reactions. Or follow us on Facebook to ask directly during one of our live shows.
Welcome back to the K-League United podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Walters, and we are talking crisis in Seoul. I can only hear that as like the 1920s newspaper announcer that's like, Park Jin-sap out at Sangam. Anyway, just wanted to do it. Thank you for bearing with me. Gentlemen, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Matthew, we're going to start with you, not just because I know how much you love Schadenfreude here, but because you were at the match that decided that was the end of Park Jin-sap's reign. You were there when FC Seoul lost 3-4, an entertaining match. I still don't know how you managed to get as many pictures onto social as you did. Props to you for that. It was a really entertaining match for a neutral, but I think it was understanding why that had to be the end for Seoul. What did you see in that match?
That's funny you say entertaining for a neutral. I think all neutrals wanted Jeonbuk to somehow lose and also Seoul to lose. I don't think, entertaining for a neutral, but also highly frustrating as well because, Jeonbuk did come out on top. But looking at Seoul, it was like a last hurrah. I think Park Jin-sap knew his time was coming up and he put out the youngest squad possible. I put out on Twitter that they were wearing a retro kit to celebrate 50 years of GS retail. So, the Jeonbuk foreign supporters boycott of GS25 isn't going as well as we hoped. But they put out a shirt and only 3 of the players in that starting lineup were actually alive when that shirt was first released back in 1995, 1996. This was a young lineup from Seoul. And I give him his due. It was a fired up Seoul squad. It was there was a lot of energy in that squad. Yeah, okay, a bit tactical naive at times, but you could see that they wanted to do well. And there was a lot of frustration as well in FC Seoul throughout the match. It was clear early on. Yang Hanbin got a yellow card for what I can only assume is dissent. Yeah, I heard he shouted something, and the referee just quickly brandished a yellow. I don't even know what it was about. And then, there was lots of crowd in the referee. I thought actually referee Lee Dong-jun was the referee. Clearly,
coincidental,
keeping himself busy. There's lots of crowding around the referee from Seoul. Lots of complaint trying to get the penalty. I think it was a deserved penalty, but I also think the referee was waiting to check VAR. I don't think the ref is going to let that go unchecked. But yeah, and it kind of surmounted into this final moment, and it's not comical because it's a man's lost his job here, and he was a very bright and promising manager that's had been given this curse of FC Seoul to handle, and he's handled it very badly. He's got to shoulder a lot of the blame, but his final moments, he's just shouting from the bench at everyone who will listen to him, anyone who will listen to him. He's just shouting at the referee, and the referee the free kick's being given, it's 3-3. He comes over, the referee's like calms him down. It's like, you're going to go to the stands. It looks like he's saying like, quiet, sit down, or you're going to the stands. Referee goes, blows the free kick. Min Sun-min, Kunimoto, Min Sun-min to the back, pulls it back. Hong Jong-ho, winner. And you just, you just felt for him. They came so close, and came so close to getting something here. But for all the good performance that Seoul put on today you can't ignore all the performances that have led to this moment, and we made there's a lot of fun being made of his comments post Jeju, blaming the humidity. Well, he
yeah, we were talking about
it was a little bit nippier on Sunday night. No wonder why they got 3 goals, but yeah.
Oh, man, I love that one. I really did enjoy that one. It's like, buddy, it's Jeju. It's we're not talking like World Cup qualifiers and you had to go to Saudi Arabia or Iran or something like that and adjust to a completely different climate and a time zone. Like, it's an island 45 minutes south of here.
It's the Hawaii of Korea, isn't it?
I think he probably. I mean, we just pure speculation here, but I bet he's probably just been waiting. Why am I still? I mean, you're not going to leave a job that's paying you, and you probably want to try and save your reputation. But it's like, why haven't you got rid of me? At a certain point, like.
Well, we were talking about what the Twitter storm that we were all having prior to this match. And I put out that this was a white flag of a lineup. He was just like, you know what? I'm done. Kids, go get it. And like you were saying, they were fired up. Props to them. The kids went out there and did it. Cho Young got another goal after I said that he should move to K2. He's just keeps on scoring since I've said that. So you're welcome, young man. I mean, and as you pointed out that night on social as well, Matthew, he will probably get a chance to play in K2 soon if things continue this way. But I mean, when you're facing the defending champions and you put Shin Jae-won up top for his 4th start of the season, a young man that didn't even start every game for Ansan Greeners last year, who has logged under 300 minutes.
I don't know. I mean, I almost respect it to a degree because he's clearly just had it. He said, these other players, they've got me in this position. Sure. Well, stick it. I'll just shove out players who actually might go and do something. So that's, he tried. I think he knew his time was up. And like you said, he just said, well, our last roll of the dice, give it the kids, let them have a shot. And it was a good go, but not good enough. Jeonbuk do what Jeonbuk do, and that is now their 7th consecutive win at Seoul World Cup Stadium for Jeonbuk. They've I had to do the numbers because it's another Jeonju Castle, and 12 wins since Seoul moved there in 2004. That's out of 27 games. So Jeonbuk have really made that place their own.
Yes, they have. We're going to get into some of the statistics of Park Jin-sop's run, and we did have a question come in on YouTube here. And before we get into any of that, though, we had a question that came in on Twitter just a little bit earlier today from Osri Furman. And Pete, I'll direct this one to you. He's asking, do you think Seoul aren't quite dead yet? Look, I'm still moving my arms. Anyway, how much of a fight they put in, given the fight that they put in against Jeonbuk, are they still there for the fight, or was that just kind of Jeonbuk being a bit complacent?
I think there was probably rumors in the dressing room that if they don't win this game, then Park Jin-sop's out. So it was kind of a last fight for their manager. I would say, there's you can see there's definitely life in FC Seoul, and if they win on the weekend, they could move as high as 9th. If they beat Songnam, it's a huge game at the bottom. And Gwangju and Gangwon are both away this weekend, so one win, they could be up to 9th, and things will look rosier, and that would be a great boost for the new boss.
That new manager bounce is a thing. It's going to happen. But before they can get to the new manager, let's talk about the numbers for the old manager, for Park Jin-sop. He had 27 games in charge this year, and just to put things in perspective of last season, and Dan Croydon pointed this out online, that it might be a bit harsh for Busan to have been relegated because they only played 27 games in a shortened season last year. So if we were in the 2020 season, and thankfully we're not, because no thank you, let's hope that we can get fans back on the stands soon this season, if that's going to be a thing. Anyway, 27 games in charge, 6 wins, 7 draws, 14 losses. And what stood out to me is that they're really quite bang average in most categories. They have the 4th fewest goals scored, so they're not average there with 27. They're underperforming an XG of 32, so still not great for 27 matches, and they're underperforming that. Where they're overperforming is with goals conceded. They're second worst in the league with 36, because Suwon FC has somehow conceded 40, despite holding, I think, 2 out of 3 clean sheets in their previous matches. Anyway, the XG for FC Seoul this season is 44 goals against. It is not good for them right now. But digging into the stats a little bit more, they are bang average in absolute, like almost everything. Passes, passing accuracy, crosses, crossing accuracy, shooting accuracy, key passes, all of these statistics, they're right in the middle of the pack, and they average 51% possession. So it feels like they're there, and like they could put their stamp on things. And I think that's where it went wrong for Park Jin-sop, is that I don't know that he really had an idea of what that stamp was for FC Seoul this year. I think with Gwangju, when you got Felipe in the lineup, it's, it's not that hard to look pretty good when you can toss the ball up to the big man.
That shortened season last year, it allowed him to finish in the top 6 with Gwangju. So clearly, when he's got his right plan set, he's a decent manager. And those Seoul have got some experienced heads in that lineup who have to shoulder some of the blame as well.
Mm-hmm.
And also in the stats, there was one statistic that did stand out that wasn't so middle ground. They had more shots than Jeonbuk so far this season. So
everybody's got more shots than Jeonbuk. Jeonbuk doesn't shoot unless they can score.
10 other teams have more shots than Jeonbuk this season.
They've also faced less shots than Incheon, who are having a terrific season. So it's a strange old world, and perhaps they're just not firing at either end.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And we'll talk about the new manager soon on Iksu. But before, we had a question come in on YouTube just now asking, does this tenure at FC Seoul tarnish his chances of other jobs in the future? And that's from Mike Baston watching on YouTube right now. Pete, you're very keen on Park Jin-sop.
Well,
does this
I've
tarnish?
walked past him in the corridor, if that counts on being keen on him. But I wouldn't say so. No, I mean, he'll still have some credit for his job down at Gwangju. And I think I saw it on Matthew's Twitter that perhaps he could be considered for the under-23 job. Because
no, that wasn't mine.
Was that on you? Oh, I'm not sure it was, but someone put his name in the ring for that.
Apparently, all you got to do for that is fail at FC Seoul. Cheonsu, Hong Sun-hong.
I think the recruitment drive is only in Seoul. They're just not going further afield. They're just...
He worked with some good youth prospects at Gwangju, and he developed the Gwangtan boys, as they call them down there. Your Om Ji-sung, Jeon Won-sangs, and surely he should deserve some credit for that, because so many managers have struggled at FC Seoul recently.
Is it, Matthew? Is it just that it's too big of a job, or how much of the blame does the board need to shoulder here? What do you think is going on?
I'm going to sit on the fence here and say both, because it is a massive job. Like, as much as I laugh on it and deride Seoul time to time and stuff, for a club that size to be in the position it is ridiculous. The funding they've had in the past, the funding they still get, the players they've brought in, they're not on the Ki Sung-young isn't on an under-22 contract exactly, is he? It is a massive job with high expectations, and FC Seoul fans are known to protest, which every fan has the right to do, and they did so at the end of this one. They socially distant protest outside, forcing Park Jin-sop and Ki Sung-young to come out and speak to them after the game. And I think you need a manager with that kind of ability to take a job. Now, surprisingly, this is where I thought, back in the day when Hwang Sung-hong took the job at FC Seoul, I thought that's a proven manager. That is a manager who'll get something at FC Seoul. But you could also argue he's the one who started this whole mess.
I would argue that, actually.
They've never recovered since he took it. Now, as Paul pointed out to me, it's a fact by Paul, but Hwang Sung-hong went really early in that 2018 season, yet he's still the one. He's still the one who is blamed for Seoul's relegation.
Whoa! We're not there yet.
Nearly relegation. Sorry, the relegation playoff. Sorry, I remember that second leg very differently, but it was December, and I was in the fan section for that. So,
you and every Busan fan.
Yes.
Well,
no, I think it's just been on a decline. They've never really appointed a manager good enough since. There's caretakers after caretakers, or managers that kind of half on the fence. With Park Jin-suk was probably their biggest managerial hire, really, since. Well, I mean, I know they brought Chae Hong-soo back, but Park Jin-suk was them really trying to make a statement, and it's kind of went wrong. Maybe that was their reluctance to sack him as well. They thought, well, we've kind of tried to develop it. This was a manager who is up and coming. We are trying to make steps forward, but in the end, so a club that size, it needs to be getting results.
Yeah, and I think if you're not going to get the full-on number 9 that you want, and it looks like Gabriel could be that player, but you got to figure out a way to get the most out of those guys up top. Na Sang-ho's got the talent to do it, and like you say, that lineup is ridiculous, and they just haven't been able to put the pieces together. But the man that has that responsibility now, again, is An Ik-soo, and he has had spells as manager before with Songnam in 2013 and Busan I Park before that in 2011 and 12. He was coaching at the university level up until this hire, and was part of FC Seoul staff all the way back in 2010. And as somebody that goes to a lot of FC Seoul games because they are the nearest team to me, he's known for his, quote, suffocating style of play, of suffocating the life out of the other team and not allowing them to score. So, oh joy, 5 at the back. It's going to be great.
It's kind of what they need at the moment, though, isn't it? Now it's all they haven't. It's always going to be boring. It's going to be a rough ride for the rest of the season for FC Seoul fans. But you got to be able to keep at the opposition now. This is damage limitations.
It's going to be an interesting finish to the season, and like you said earlier, Pete, if they get a win this weekend, then they are in 9th, and all of this will be put behind us. Just go to the Winchester and wait for it all to blow over.
And I would say you mentioned he was a university manager for the last 3 years. I think in the Korean leagues that has more weight than abroad. If you're a university manager, that's a quite high level over here.
It's true. It's gotten quite a few people a decent job. So we'll see how he does. And we're going to talk a little bit more about FC Seoul, a couple other K-League teams, and we're going to talk about the Korean national team once more once we dip into the Ulji Luis mailbag on the other side of this break. We'll be right back.
Ulji Luis is your neighborhood British bar and cafe located in the Uljiro district of Seoul. Decorated in old English antiques and furniture for a true homely feel, you can enjoy homemade scones, cakes and afternoon tea during the day, and traditional British favourites like beef stew, English ale, and a fine selection of wines at night. Available for private parties or simply an evening out, Ulji Luis is sure to become your favourite neighbourhood pub. Be sure to mention K-League United at the bar during your visit and you'll get 10% off your bill.
Welcome back to the K-League United podcast. There's the pup that I've been missing so much. That's why we need to do the live show, guys, so I can see the Ulji Luis dog. That does have a name. I just always forget and will always refer to it as the Ulji Luis dog, who's very delightful. Anyway, Matthew, into the mailbag we go.
Okay, the first one at the mailbag this week is Suwon FC fan on Twitter. After Pohang's problems with their fans, how have they reacted to the agreement with Socios? I haven't read anything about it, and it seems interesting to me. I wouldn't mind taking this one, really.
Take it.
Yeah, Socios. Well, it's an NFT, and it's like a fan. It's a bit crypto, but it's bought with. I'm doing a great job of this. But yeah, it's sold as a fan coin, and it's bought with Socios' own cryptocurrency chilies. Lots of big clubs around the world are using it at the moment. Man City, I have to regrettably say, also have association with them. PSG, Arsenal, Leeds, Aston Villa, a lot of clubs are using these, and the point of it is supposed to give fans a say, or have fans own a bit of the club that they can say, not a share, but a coin. So these decisions that fans can partake in, it's trivial things.
Massive things.
Pohang on their press release said it's one thing they might be doing is like to vote on redecorating the bus next season.
Ooh.
My say, if you've got one of those coins, 4 defenders. I think that's a great idea. But it's a risk. It's a risk. I really don't think this is a good move for Pohang. I'm not that financially astute by it. And if you don't really know what you're doing, and you don't know what you're talking about, like I clearly don't, then just stay away from it. This is double the risk. You've got a fluctuating cryptocurrency in Chile's, and then you've got another fluctuating currency in these fan tokens. These fan tokens can fluctuate based on what the club is doing. For example, PSG's went quite wild when Messi was signing, for example. So you're doubling your financial risk there. And especially, I'm sure Pohang had this deal in the works for a while. But for a club where the fans are desperate to have a say, please don't buy this thinking it's going to give you a say.
Yeah, I would agree. I think this is a pretty big misstep from Pohang with fans that have been very vocal and that have been there for a long time. I don't think saying, hey, buy into this system thing and you can decide what paint we put on the railings in the standing section or things like that. And what you were bringing up about PSG and Messi signing, that was brought up in a really great article about this specific company and about this trend in The Athletic. Cannot recommend that highly enough. And the interesting thing there was, it would make sense that stock or fan tokens, whatever you want to call it, it's stock in PSG would be on the rise with the rumor of Messi signing there. But interestingly enough, it crashed after he signed. So if you didn't get out soon enough, then you got stuck. So it's...
I want to know what point does Pohang's rise? Because they just always get rid of players. Don't. But I mean, let's also just be a bit self-aware here, because we are aware what Sorare is as well. Sorare
Correct.
is also, card
based on cryptocurrency. Yeah,
that is bought with their own cryptocurrency as well. But at least with Sorare, there's a gaming element. There is an element of fantasy football. This Socios thing, this is just a coin that gives you a say to vote on things, maybe the entrance music, maybe what color the bus is going to be.
Yep.
If that's your thing, great, but I don't think it really should be sold to the everyday fan. Sell it if you know what you're doing. Go for it, is my advice. But if you don't, stay away.
I asked our Daegu columnist Jung Muyol to read through the Pohang fans' comments on the announcement posts this morning, and he said there was a mix of confusion and not being too fussed by it all. I think these things might work if you've got a massive international fan base who are bothered about what music's being played in the dressing room. But are you really finishing a week of work in Pohang and then deciding what colour the bus is? I'm not sure.
I'm going to suggest red and black.
Oh, man,
Also
it'll cost you 2 coins to suggest that, wouldn't
Well, like I said, if you're well researched, well versed on all this kind of thing, then you play the risk. But if you're not well versed on it, I suggest supporting your club in other ways. Right, next up the mailbag, I think, is our very own Dan Croydon, our Ulsan writer, and soon to be owner of many Pohang tokens and many bad decisions. How many wins can Ulsan get from their next 4 massive games? Jeonbuk, Kawasaki, Daegu, and Pohang, all fellow ACL clubs.
Pete?
Well, the Kawasaki fixtures at home, and I was looking at their form. They've only won 1 of the last 5, although they have had some tough fixtures. And if they don't win any of these 4, then the next one is at home to Gwangju. So I'm sure they'll relish that a chance to put it right. I think if I was put on the line, I think they'll win against Jeonbuk this weekend.
Will they though?
And then, but they've got to travel to Daegu, which in the past I think I went a couple of years ago and saw them really struggle at Daegu's new stadium.
Yeah, I mean, Pohang's the banana peel for me there, because there's just something about that delicious East Coast derby that Pohang's just got their number. Except for that one match that you went to last year, Pete, where they were taking out all of their vengeance from the 2019 season and losing it on the last day as they did. And they just put it to him in round 6 or whatever it was.
That was the most vicious I've ever seen staff on the touchline. Still to this day, it was so vitriolic, that game. It was amazing. I loved it.
Yeah, I think Kawasaki might be a test for them.
For sure.
Pohang, it's not the 4th game of the season, so they're going to beat Pohang. Pohang like to leave it to the final chance. Daegu, I think they've got enough to see off Daegu. I think they're probably going to do something against Jeonbuk as well. Jeonbuk might get a draw against them, but I think they can get. I reckon they can win the K-League games. I think the ACL is up in the air.
Okay, we'll leave it there.
Yeah. Okay. Out the mailbag next, we have Jeonbuk Kwan on Twitter. Is linebreaker Kim Sung-dae being misused tactically by Jeonbuk, leading to his poor performances, and how? Or is this simply an issue of a player out of form or not at the ability he was before? We have to put a bit of history to this, because when Kim Sung-dae came in Jeonbuk, came in mid-season 2019, middle of Jose Moraes' first season. Now, he came in he was sold. He looked like a replacement for Kim Shin-wook because Kim Shin-wook had left. Kim Sung-dae came in. It was almost a seamless transition in terms of the rotating door transfers. But Kim Sung-dae was more to replace EJ Sung from 2018. And to be honest, I think Kim Sung-dae would have fit into that team in 2018. That Jeonbuk team in 2018 was very pressing. It created far more counterattacks. It managed to win the ball a lot higher up in the pitch and force mistakes. Whereas Jose Moraes took it back a bit. After Jose Moraes took charge, Jeonbuk have averaged 5% more than what they were doing under Chae Kang-hee every season. And that's been carried over to Kim Sang-shik. And what Kim Sung-dae was very good at, he was very good at winning the ball back. It doesn't get mentioned, but he got far more interceptions at the top of the pitch, winning the ball back to help create the assists, create the goals. Jeonbuk don't get that. They move in transition. They transition too slowly at present. It's really laboured passing build-up at the moment with Jeonbuk. I don't think that suits Kim Sung-dae's game. Probably why we saw him do a little bit better at Gangwon when Youngsu Ball looked like it might be a real thing. I also think it's quite interesting that maybe that's why Jeonbuk have so many Pohang players, because that 2018 Jeonbuk actually has quite similar stats on average to that 2018 Pohang side. A lot of those players moving across quite seamlessly at the time. And yeah, so Jose Moraes took charge. A lot of Jose Moraes' early players were all just signed by Jeonbuk's director of football and trying to keep this ethos that they already had going. I don't think Jose Moraes wanted to play that kind of style. And we saw what he did with all those signings in 2019. We got Han Sung-kyu, he went out on loan. Kim Sung-dae out on loan. Tiago. No, we kept Tiago.
I'm saying it didn't work out though, did it?
Yeah. So it was like Jose Moraes didn't really embrace all the players that came in. Min Son-min, the exception to the rule, obviously, but he didn't seem to embrace the players that came in. And after winning the league that first season, then he really got to have a say in the transfer window and choose his kind of players. So I think Kim Sung-dae was brought in for a Chae Kang-hee style team, would be my answer.
And Kim Sung-dae as well, he's not getting full games, is he? He's getting an average of 44 minutes on the pitch in each game this season. So he's either being brought on at half time or being taken off at half time. And his expected goals for a striker at Jeonbuk, his expected goals this season is 0.09, which if you're in the front line at Jeonbuk, that's almost impressive to get it that low. Compare it to Sung-min Kyu, his is 0.3.
The hope was, because Kim Sang-shik had been assistant under Chae Kang-hee and Jose Moraes, that they'd bring him back after being on loan at Gangwon and say, okay, now we'll integrate you. Now we've got a different manager in charge, and we'll give you the run. We'll give you a go. But Kim Sang-shik's stats, he's playing worse football than Jose Moraes at the moment. It's visible to see, but the statistics also back that up. I'm not going to go into them. There will be a piece out on that if things go even worse than they are going by Jeonbuk's relative standards.
So by Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, there's something ready.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's somebody that I wish he had never left Gangwon. But I'm going to have to eventually give up on the dream of Gangwon playing attractive attacking football. Anyway.
Next out of the mailbag, Asri Furman, another question from Asri. Jeju's Joo Min Kyu is currently second top scorer, but he was considered for the national. Was he considered for the national setup at all in this round of qualifiers?
Not that I've heard. Pete, you're our KNT columnist.
Yeah, I wish I had a direct line to Paolo Bento, but he really wanted to.
You didn't get his number in Gangneung last year?
No, he didn't text me saying, how's it going in Gimje this week, Pete? Fancy a pint in Gangneung next weekend, yeah. Perhaps he's just not had the chance to get to the islands. Perhaps COVID's affecting it a bit. He's not been able to get down to Jeju to see him.
The humidity is terrible down
yeah,
there.
he doesn't fancy that sweaty night out in Jeju.
It's
but
a whole different land.
Looking at that squad, surely you'd at least have him as an option off the bench.
Yeah, I mean, it's been him and Lars Veldwijk all season going back and forth. I mean, like you say, surely you have him in just to put a little bit of a fire under the guys up front in training, you know? Just have him, like you're saying, have him on the bench as a threat of like, if you're not performing, this guy's scoring goals domestically. Yeah, it's a weird one. He's never really been included in the national team setup that much, even when he's had his peaks. And, you know, we've been covering the league since 15 and it's an every other year kind of thing with Joo Min Kyu. And this is one of his good years again, but he's never really been in that conversation, which I find extremely odd. Maybe
that's the thing. He's such a streaky striker. He's a fox in the box. But if Paolo Bento and his scouting team go to see him on a bad run, perhaps they just don't fancy him.
Sure. Weird one.
Well, keeping on the topic of the national team, the final mail in the mailbag is from Brunilia on Twitter. Is the Korean national team stronger than the top 5 K-League teams? Would they beat each of them in a knockout tournament, assuming both home and away matches?
I love this question. I'm just going to start with that. I love that this was a question. Yes is my definitive answer. I believe the Korean national team would decidedly finish top of a split round with K-League 1 sides.
Are we cloning, like, if there's a national team play?
I
think we have to. Get the clone. Dust down the Kim Shin-uk clone machine. We're getting experimental, boys. But yeah, I mean, you've got the odd these hypotheticals. Obviously, club football are playing more. But if you're assuming that the KNT is getting as much regular football as clubs, yeah,
sure.
Korean national team would edge it. I think half of them are John Book players, and they've beaten half these teams anyway. Former John Book
if you
players.
look, Lee Young is still becoming a regular fixture again at that right back role. So that shows you all you need to know, really.
Yeah, probably the KNT. Although, I mean, if we're going to choose one team to cause an upset against them, I'd fancy Suwon FC probably to cause a bit of a shock. Yeah,
love it.
Smash and grab Suwon FC. Lars Veldwijk, far post. There we go. 1-0. Son Heung-min on the way home crying.
Why are you going to throw him under the bus? Oh, Bins, you are just asking for a Twitter storm, my man.
Throw him under that Poang bus that would be recently decorated. Anyway, that's it for the mailbag.
Thank you so much, Pete.
Yeah, if you enjoy our stuff, if you enjoyed today, then you can join us on Patreon. And welcome to our latest Patreon subscribers, Nicholas Enright and Jose Maea. Thank you for joining. It's also, if anyone was watching right at the start of this live broadcast, it's the K-League Survivor final this weekend between Jared Sellers and Michael Boroff. I've forgotten who they each chose now, but they edged out me. I made it to the final 5. I'll take that as my crowning glory. If you are a Patreon subscriber, there's also some so rare features. You've got some different tiers as well. A K2 champion tier at $5 gets you so rare exclusives, including weekly team news on injuries, suspensions, and the like. And then if you're really keen, you can join at the K1 level for $10. That's weekly predictions and starting lineups, and also customized player scouting features. And you can also ask us to take a deep dive in on a player of your choice for a scouting report. There's also full player interview videos, as you saw with Jeonnam striker tonight, and podcast extras. Tiers start as low as $1. Don't forget, you can listen every Thursday on Football Nation Radio down in Australia. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, etc. And leave a review and enter into this month's K-League kit contest, it's a cracker this month. It's the Daegu kit, signed by Edgar and Cecilia.
You let him host once. You let him host once, and he just takes the whole thing.
Was that not me? Was that not supposed to be me?
It was great, Pete. It was fantastic. There's
It
no
came
better
right off the
way.
tongue.
There's no better way to end this show than that way, and the fact that Matt hates Son Heung-min. But for these fine gentlemen, for Pete Hampshire and Matthew Binns, I'm Ryan Walters. Thanks so much for watching.
정교성 공격 복귀 김신우